Happy New Year, everybody. We are back to break down the main event of the first UFC card of 2023. The UFC have got a fantastic fight night card for us this weekend, and in this video we're going to be breaking down the matchup between Nassourdine Imavov and Sean Strickland. It's a great fight. It's obviously a short notice replacement fight for Kelvin Gastelum versus Nassourdine Imavov. But Strickland did fight just a few weeks ago. His cardio is legendary. He's probably still going to be in pretty good shape, and this fight taking place at light heavyweight is certainly going to minimise the negative impacts that Strickland may experience coming into this fight on short notice, because obviously he doesn't have to go through a brutal weight cut to make that 186-pound middleweight limit. And to be honest with you, when I researched the fight between Strickland and Imavov, for me it's a more interesting fight from a betting point of view than the Gastelum versus Imavov fight was. So I think things are going to work out better, and I'm much more excited for this fight between Imavov and Strickland than I was for Imavov versus Gastelum, because I really feel that Gastelum was one of these guys on the downward trajectory. He was on a decline, whereas Strickland and Imavov, they're two of the top middleweights. They're right in that title picture, and whoever wins this matchup takes a big step forward towards a title shot. I mean, I know Strickland suffered the setback a few weeks ago by losing to Jared Cannonier, but if he beats Imavov in impressive fashion on Saturday night, he is right back in the mix. So, you've probably noticed by now that this video is a lot shorter than the videos I usually record, and that's because in the future I'm going to be doing things differently. I've obviously been off for a couple months, haven't really uploaded much, and the reason for that is I go through the same cycle every year where throughout the year I just work hard. By the end of the year I'm always feeling tired and beat up and run down. So this year I was thinking, how can I do things differently? How can I do things better? How can I be better? How can I stop myself from going through this never-ending cycle of every year just falling behind on things and becoming too run down to be at my very best? So I sat back for a couple of months, thought a lot about how I could do things differently, and I've got some big plans to make 2023 my best year ever. I want to absolutely smash MMA betting in 2023. And I've also been working on a lot of things behind the scenes, which I'm hoping will help me move to the next level and really grow a lot this year. Got a lot of ambitions, a lot of plans. I know a lot of people talk like this at the beginning of every year. I think there's something like, I think I read an article the other day that 91% of people fail on their New Year's resolutions within like the first 6 weeks of a new year. So I hopefully don't become that statistic, but I do have some big plans for 2023, and I had a great Christmas, a great New Year's, feeling very grateful right now, very motivated, very hungry to get back to work, starting with the UFC this weekend. As you can see from these little video clips, pictures in the background, I went to New York for New Year's Eve, which was a brilliant experience, and like I say, something I feel really, really grateful for. I wanted to mention this in this video and show you these clips of what me and my family got up to in New York, because many of you watching this video are from the United States. A lot of members of my website are from the United States, and it was the first time I'd ever been to the United States. I guess what's interesting is when your only perception of the United States is like through the media, through social media, through like movies and TV shows, you build up kind of like this perception of what the United States is, and then when you actually go there and you meet the people and you experience the culture firsthand, you kind of see that the United States is actually nothing like you perceived it to be. Like online, it seems like crazy. It seems very divided. It seems like a place, with a lot of problems. But you do not get that vibe in New York City at all. It was a really inspirational city full of friendly, positive, interesting people. And I think the American people are absolutely brilliant. You guys are so friendly, so welcoming. Your country's amazing. I had a great time. Favorite place in the world. I absolutely loved this. So just wanted to say that because I know so many of you from the United States watch these videos, and it was my first time over there. Your country's brilliant, man. Your country is absolutely brilliant. As you can see in these, these clips, these pictures in the background on my partner's Instagram, we had a great time. We did a lot. It was fun times, man. Skip through probably my favorite thing we did on the whole trip. I will skip through the clips very quickly. I think probably my favorite thing on the whole trip. Is it going to take a while? Because we actually went to a New York Rangers game, and in my hometown of Cardiff, we do have an ice hockey team called the Cardiff Devils, who we go and watch regularly. This was the first time we ever got to go watch an NHL game, and yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. I think going and watching the New York Rangers at Madison Square Garden was probably the favorite thing that I did. I know that my son, my other half, absolutely loved it as well, and it's taken a lot longer to get there than I thought it would. But yeah, absolutely loved New York. Skip to these pictures of us at the ice hockey game. God, it was, there we go. Just absolutely loved it. They were playing like the team that was second in the league. They won 5-3. It was absolutely brilliant. Great country, great people. Love the United States. Anyway, let's get back to this breakdown. So yeah, from now on, instead, so from now on, you know, earlier on, just a few moments ago, I spoke about my intention in 2023 to just try and get better and do things better. And what I found throughout, throughout the last year, throughout the last couple of years, is I just build these videos up to be way too big of a job, where they're a big task and I put them off and put them off and put them off throughout the week, and then by the end of the week it becomes, you know, a huge task, and then I either don't get round to doing them in time, leave them too late, or sometimes in the case of YouTube videos, don't get to do them at all. I'm going to combat this year by making a point of building into my daily routine, uploading at least one breakdown video every single day. So if you're a member of my website, if you're a member of my community, MMABettingTips.com, link in the description below, I promise you I'll do my very, very best throughout 2023 to make sure I'm getting breakdown videos up like every day. From Monday to Friday, breakdown videos on the website every day. And if you're not a member on my website, you only watch videos from my YouTube channel, my commitment to you is I'm going to try so hard to upload one breakdown video per day to YouTube. So what you want to do, if you like these breakdowns, come to my YouTube channel every day. And I'm going to try real hard to make sure there's something new for you to watch every day, where we take a really deep dive into each of these fights and do our best to, you know, give you all the information you need to, you know, make good decisions when betting these matchups. I know there's loads of other people that do this on YouTube, so I'm very grateful that you watch me, and hope I can help you make more money in 2023, make better betting decisions. So let's get into breaking down the fight between Nasruddin Imavov and Sean Strickland. Before we get into that, do just want to let you guys know that there are some spaces available in my live betting group at the moment, which I know people are very interested in, because there's very rarely spaces available in my live betting group. I have a membership cap, which is pretty much permanently full. But the way it always goes over the Christmas period every year is a few people dip out, a few people leave for whatever reason, and as a result, we do have some spaces. Now, obviously, you know, nobody wants to just jump into doing something, paying for something, if they don't know what they're getting in return. If you do want to give it a try and experience it for yourself firsthand, so you can see exactly what you're getting before joining the live betting group, leave a comment below, send me a DM, send me an email. All my contact details are below, and I can give you a free trial so you can test it out for yourself, see what you think of it, if it's something you'd like to give a go in 2023. I do specialize in live betting on MMA. So if you want to join, just go to Betting Tips, Live Betting Tips on my website, MMABettingTips.com. Link for that is in the description below. And like I say, perform really well live betting MMA. You see profitability chart here. Since I started tracking results 8 years ago, it's pretty much non-stop profits. So if you want to give it a go, get in contact with me, set you up with a free trial. I'm sure you'll love it. And if you don't, well, it doesn't cost anything to try it out. So let's now jump into breaking down the main event of this weekend's card between Nasruddin Imavov and Sean Strickland. So we've already spoken about the fact that Sean Strickland is going to be taking this fight on less than a week's notice. But I don't think it's going to be a huge issue in this fight for him. Like I say, he's a cardio machine. I don't think I've ever even seen Strickland breathing heavy. This is the kind of guy that can sprint hard for 5 rounds, no problem. He's also got a lot of experience fighting in 5-round fights. His main event against Uriah Hall and also against Jared Cannonier just in the last 12 months alone. On top of that, this fight is at light heavyweight. So it's not like he's going to have to go through a brutal weight cut to make the middleweight weight limit on short notice. I know it says middleweight here, but the fight is actually at light heavyweight. So Strickland's probably just going to be able to turn up and fight without having to worry about cutting weight, or certainly won't have to cut much weight. And also, we saw Strickland go for 5 hard rounds without slowing down at all, literally 3 weeks ago. So, I'm sure that he did relax a little bit after that, stray off his diet a little. But Strickland's also a savage that trains very hard, that is tough as nails, that is very committed to his craft. And he's also the kind of psycho that would probably go into the gym and train on Christmas Day. So I really don't think it's going to be that much of an issue, Strickland stepping up on short notice. I could be wrong, you never know. But he's not the kind of guy that I would doubt when it comes to cardio. On the flip side, Imavov actually is, which is what makes this fight interesting, because Imavov is the guy coming in on a full camp with probably the best preparation and training camp of his career. If you think about it, it's his first main event fight, his first 5-round fight. It's a big opportunity. It's quite clear that Imavov is in this main event to try and give him that push towards the top 5 title picture. And as a result, you would expect Imavov to have trained harder for this fight than any other fight he ever has done in the past. Now, maybe he got injured in camp, maybe he was sick, something like that. But outside of those things that we don't know about either way, outside of those variables, we could pretty much guarantee Imavov's trained his ass off for this fight. And he will have needed to, because if we're being brutally honest, his cardio hasn't looked great in the past. And if your cardio hasn't looked great in 3-round fights, that potentially poses a big a big problem for you when you then start to compete in 5-round fights. Because if you're slowing down in a 3-round 15-minute fight, when you're suddenly doing 5 rounds 25 minutes, now that extra 10 minutes is going to be really difficult for you. Those championship rounds are going to be very challenging, especially for a guy like Imavov going up against someone like Sean Strickland, who is relentless and we know can fight at a very high pace of 5 rounds. Now, when it comes to Imavov's gas tank, even though he does tend to slow down a bit, he doesn't tend to look that good in the 3rd round of his fights. I am very open-minded to the possibility that his cardio could look a lot better this weekend against Strickland. And that's for 2 reasons. The first reason being, he's a very big guy, right? At 6'3" with a 75-inch reach, he's a massive middleweight. And so we know the weight cut down to 186 pounds has got to be very difficult for him. Now that the fight is at light heavyweight, and now that Imavov doesn't have to deplete his body so much to cut all that weight to make 186, his cardio could look a lot better, in the light heavyweight division. Sean Sully, a member of my community, said in my VIP chat room earlier on today that we could see a performance from Imavov similar to what we saw from Paulo Costa against Marvin Vettori, where, remember when we watched Paulo Costa in 3-round fights in the middleweight division, he'd always slow down and look really gassed in round 2. And then when we've seen him fight at light heavyweight against the likes of Marvin Vettori, sure, he did slow down, he did gas, he did look tired, but he was able to hang in there and fight at a much higher pace at light heavyweight than he was able to at middleweight. And we could see the same thing happen with Imavov. It all really depends on how much of a contributing factor the weight cut is to Imavov slowing down his fights we're on. And we really don't know the answer to that question. We're going to find out on Saturday. Maybe Imavov just does have bad cardio. Maybe it's down to the weight cut. But what I'm trying to say is, at 6'3" with a 75-inch reach, maybe he looks better than ever this weekend at light heavyweight. Maybe even finds a new division for himself. So in terms of the tail of the tape, both guys are roughly the same size. Imavov is a little bit taller at 6'3". Strickland's got a slightly longer reach, but both guys roughly the same size. In terms of age, Strickland, 31 years old, in his prime for a middleweight, but because he's been around for so long, he's had 30 pro fights. We very rarely see Strickland show up with new skills that we haven't seen him demonstrate in the past, and so I wouldn't expect to see Strickland show up and do anything dramatically different I wouldn't expect him to show up with a different game plan or set of skills than what we've seen from him in the past, especially because we saw him fight Cannonier 3 weeks ago. Whereas Imavov, at just 26 years old, should be making big improvements from fight to fight. And we also know with him training at the MMA Factory, the gym that bred guys like Cyril Gane, Francis Ngannou, we know he's in a really good place to be, developing and improving at a really rapid rate. So, while we will talk a lot in this breakdown video about how Imavov and Strickland match up stylistically, we've got to keep an open mind as to the possibility of Imavov showing up and doing things we've never seen him do before. So, I think that's about it for X Factors. Let's focus on how these two match up from a stylistic point of view. So, when it comes to striking, I'm very impressed by Imavov's ability to use his length. When you watch Imavov fight, you'd assume he has a massive reach advantage over everyone that he faces because guys really struggle to get inside and land on him. But that's really not the case. With a 75-inch reach, I know he's long and tall, but it's not like he's got a crazy wingspan. It's not like he's a Neil Magny that has got a far longer wingspan than most of the guys he faces in his division. He might be a little bit longer and taller than most, but what's very, very interesting about Imavov is how well he uses the length. He just uses his body type very well, reads his opponent very well, and does a really good job of staying out of a range where he can be hit. When you do see Imavov get hit, when you do see guys land on him, it tends to be, for one of three reasons. The first reason is he's tired, so he can't move as well as he could when he's fresh, so he can't get out the way as easily of shots that are coming towards him. Second reason why he tends to get hit is just glancing blows on the end of shots. As he's seen the shot come in, he's backed up, tried to circle away, tried to slip the shot, but maybe he just gets caught with the end of something as he hasn't quite managed to get out the way quick enough. And the third, the only third situation in which you see Imavov get hit is when guys do pretty much what Joaquin Buckley did in the third round of his last fight, where they literally just hulk out, bite down on their mouthpiece, and throw caution to the wind and just steam forward, cover a lot of distance very quickly, show no regard for their own safety, and just come forward swinging for the fences, basically. And then it's obviously difficult for a guy like Imavov to get out of the way if guys are just coming forward with reckless abandon. But aside from that, in kickboxing range, when he's fresh, it's extremely difficult to land clean on him because he's very good at reading his opponents and very good at using his length, his reach. He's very tricky on the feet. That's interesting because Strickland is actually the opposite. I think what really cost Strickland in his last fight against Jared Cannonier was that he ate shots that he didn't see coming quite frequently. And because he didn't see them coming, they just didn't look very good when they landed. They would kind of snap his head back and back him up. And the problem with Strickland is because he relies so much on his ability to read his opponents, which is why he does fight with his hands low. He wants to rely on his ability to slip shots and, move his head to kind of roll with the punches. When he gets it wrong, when he doesn't read you, when he doesn't see that shot come in, because he doesn't really move his head much, and because his hands are always low, and because he is a little flat-footed, he tends to eat shots clean and hard, which doesn't look good in the eyes of the judges. Now, he's got a great chin, aside from obviously what happened in the Pereira fight. Generally speaking, he's got a great chin. You've got to have a good chin to be able to stand in front of a monster like Jared Cannonier for 25 minutes. Generally speaking, he can take a shot, but he also has a tendency to get dinged a lot. And I do feel this was the reason why he lost the split decision to Cannonier, because the rounds were visually close, pretty competitive rounds. They both kind of matched each other for volume, but Cannonier was the guy that would land the occasional hard and more impactful shot, whereas Strickland was kind of just chipping away at Cannonier from behind the jab. And I do think that style of striking makes this matchup difficult for Strickland because Imavov's extremely difficult to hit. He's very difficult to get inside on. And so I don't see Strickland's jab being that effective in this matchup because he's not going to be able to get inside the length of Imavov to land it that easily. In order to get inside and get his jabbing game going, he's going to have to put himself in a lot of danger. And we know Imavov's very good at reading his opponents, very technical. He's got great combinations, good boxing. And I think he's just going to be able to see Strickland coming and pick him off. I think Imavov's going to have a lot of success, particularly early in this fight when they're both fresh. Because I don't think Strickland's a dynamic enough striker to cause Imavov a problem. I think Imavov is too good technically, too good defensively for him. Strickland relies a lot on his ability to pressure his opponents and kind of wear them down with his pressure game. But in order to do that, he's got to continually come forward and look to wear them down and break them with that pressure. But he doesn't really have that power in his hands to really force guys to fight in a state of panic. So if you think about someone like Imavov, you know, you think about guys from this gym like Cyril Gane, they like to counter-strike. You know, they're pretty comfortable being on the back foot and using your pressure against you to kind of pick you off and chip away at you from a counter-striking stance. And I just feel that with how these two match up stylistically on the feet, Strickland's style is kind of tailor-made for Imavov to rack up a lot of volume, you know, do really well when it comes to striking, while also not putting himself in that much danger, because Strickland's only really got a jab, and it's going to be difficult to get that jabbing game going with the length of Imavov, and how difficult it is to get inside on him. One huge issue that I have with Strickland is that his personality isn't reflected in his fighting style. When you watch interviews of Strickland, he talks a lot about wanting to kill people and how much he enjoys fighting and how much he enjoys hurting people. And if you listen to a Sean Strickland interview, you know, you'd be expecting him to have a fighting style like Michael Chandler, right? Pure violence, pure aggression, you know, the kind of guy that just loves to scrap and has a kill or be killed style. But when you look at Sean Strickland's performances is actually the complete opposite, where he has become a little bit of a pussycat in fights, which is so strange to me, because when you watch footage of Strickland, for the most part, all he really does is plod forward, blocking punches with his face, trying to chip away at you from behind the jab. He doesn't really have much power in his hands. And above all else, he really struggles to put his stamp on rounds. A huge issue I have with Strickland is that he just doesn't fight with any urgency. He's not very aware of how a fight is going and what he needs to do in order to win. A classic example of this is his last fight against Jared Cannonier. In my opinion, Strickland was the fresher guy in that fight, which you'd expect him to be. He's a lot younger than Cannonier. And the early rounds of that matchup were razor close. Literally, you know, the kind of rounds where you look at them and any scorecard's acceptable. You know, they could have gone either way. It was a really, really razor close fight. And in that kind of matchup, what you want to see from someone like Strickland in that third, in that fourth, in that fifth round, when you've still got so much to give, so much gas in the tank, when you've still got such a strong, diverse skill set to draw from, what you want to see from Strickland is to go out there in the third, fourth, or fifth round and do exactly what Magomed Ankalaev did against Jan Blachowicz. Right? Ankalaev tried to win a kickboxing match early against Blachowicz, failed, and thought, fuck this, it's time to grapple. And he dominated the third, fourth, or fifth round with his wrestling. You want to see Strickland do that. You want to see Strickland change things up. If Strickland isn't winning rounds decisively with his kickboxing, it's time to do things different. It's time to shoot a takedown. It's time to use that grappling heavy game plan. It's time to do something different. And time again, we see Strickland just stick to that one-dimensional game plan and strategy of plodding forward, trying to chip away at his opponents from behind the jab. We know that Cannonier has bad takedown defense and a really low-level ground game. We know that Sean Strickland is a very strong wrestler and has a very good ground game. And yet, in the 3rd, 4th and 5th round, Strickland really didn't make any attempt to get this fight to the ground. He just basically used the exact same game plan he used in the 1st and 2nd round, in the hope that, I don't even know whether he's consciously thinking about this, but in the hope that he would do enough to win with his kickboxing. And for me, that's a huge red flag, because in 2 recent fights now, against Jared Cannonier and Alex Pereira, Strickland has had this huge path to victory over both guys with his grappling, and he's made a conscious decision not to use that. If we're being brutally honest, Sean Strickland should be the middleweight champion right now, because when you look at how good of a grappler Strickland is and how bad Alex Pereira, Israel Adesanya and Jared Cannonier are on the ground. I mean, look at what Izzy did to Pereira on the ground. If Izzy can dominate Pereira on the ground, imagine what Strickland could do to him. Strickland, skill for skill, is probably the best middleweight in the world right now, if you take Kimev out of the equation, or one of the best middleweights in the world. He's certainly the best middleweight in the world out of Cannonier, Pereira, Izzy and Strickland, because while Strickland may be outgunned big time on the feet, Strickland has the skill set to dictate where the matchup takes place against all those guys by using a grappling heavy game plan. But for whatever reason, he's reluctant to do it, and he just does not want to grapple. He's too stubborn, and it keeps costing him. It cost him against Pereira, where he got knocked out before shooting a takedown. He said his game plan was to wrestle after 2.5 minutes of the first round, and he got knocked out after 2 minutes 30 seconds of the first round, so he never got a chance. But then that doesn't make any sense to me, because against Jared Cannonier, your path to victory is exactly the same as what it was against Alex Pereira. Don't try and win a kickboxing match against a superior kickboxer. Use your wrestling, and once again, doesn't use his wrestling. And I'm talking about this because once again, for what feels like the 10th time in breaking down the Sean Strickland fight, Strickland has a huge advantage over Nassourdine Imavov on the ground. We've seen in Imavov's past fights that his takedown defense is pretty bad, and he's also very, 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 very weak off his back. If Strickland were to come into this fight with a grappling heavy game plan, it would be an absolute cakewalk for him. If if fucking Jesus or Allah or whoever your God is that has, all encompassing power, called me up right now and he said, "Hey Chris, I promise you, I guarantee Sean Strickland will use a grappling heavy game plan in this weekend's fight. I promise you, Strickland will use chain wrestling and persistent grappling in every single round of this fight for the entire duration of this fight." I would literally sell the house that I'm sat in now and bet it on Sean Strickland. Because if he came into this fight with a grappling heavy game plan, not only is he a far better grappler than Imavov, and Imavov would not be able to deal with Strickland's grappling, but that grappling, that forcing Imavov to defend takedowns and work his way back out to his feet and grapple on the ground, that would also accelerate the rate at which Imavov gasses out. Because what better way to test someone's gas tank that we know slows down as fights wear on than to make him grapple hard, right? That would be the perfect game plan for Strickland. But it's very difficult to see him doing that after we literally saw him barely shoot a takedown in 25 minutes against Jared Cannonier and lose a split decision. Like, at what point does the penny drop that your style ain't working for you? You get knocked out against Alex Pereira and you're involved in a razor close split decision against the 40-year-old Jared Cannonier. Instead of just plodding forward, blocking punches with your face, trying to chip away at your opponent from behind the jab, do something different and shoot a fucking takedown. It drives me crazy. It drives me crazy. So in terms of how these two match up when it comes to grappling, obviously we have seen a lot of grappling from Imavov in his recent fights, but there are levels to this game, and trust me, if Strickland were to grapple in this matchup, he would cause Imavov a lot of problems. So, what does this all mean from a betting point of view? What does this all mean? Now, what I do plan to do with these breakdown videos that are going to be coming way sooner, way more frequently to you guys in 2023, is giving you like an all-encompassing breakdown where we talk about, over-unders, we talk about prop bets for every fight. We can't actually do that for this matchup because, as you can see, we don't have props or over-unders or anything yet because this fight was only announced 12 hours ago. But what we can do is look at this fight from a money line point of view, and we can see at the moment, even though the odds haven't settled because the liquidity is very low with the fight only just being announced, it looks like both these guys are going to be in the even money odds range, with Strickland perhaps a slight favourite. But for now, we'll just put even money odds in, which is minus 110, 1.91 for an implied probability of 52%. And what would I do, right? If I were betting this fight, who do I lean towards? Who do I think is the better bet here? I'm not personally going to be betting this fight. Of course, I do bet on every fight in the even money odds range. Small, because over the long term, I feel I've got a pretty big edge betting fights in the even money odds range. So I'll be betting one of these guys small, but I will not be placing a serious bet on this fight. But the guy that I lean towards based on my research has got to be Nassourdine Imavov. And I don't feel great about it because I don't like betting on guys. I don't like leaning toward guys. Don't like favouring guys in matchups that have huge weaknesses that their opponent could exploit. I don't feel comfortable with the fact that Strickland has the skills to win this easily. Like I say, if Strickland comes in this matchup with a grappling heavy game plan, he's going to dominate Imavov. So I don't feel great about leaning towards Imavov in this matchup for that reason. However, I've got to put a lot of weight on Strickland's recent performances. And if he didn't attempt to take Alex Pereira down, if he didn't really try to take Jared Cannonier down, he didn't really even use that much grappling against Uriah Hall either, if we're being brutally honest. There's a little bit of grappling in that fight, but not much. If Strickland continues after this long to cost himself title shots and set back his own career by not fighting with a style that gives him the best chance of winning, it's very difficult to trust him to suddenly fight smart and fight with a style and a strategy and a game plan that gives himself the best chance of winning this weekend against Nassourdine Imavov. So the reason why I lean towards Imavov this weekend is, even though his grappling's not great, even though his cardio isn't great, based on Strickland's recent performances, I feel the most likely outcome this weekend is that we get a 25-minute stand-up fight. And in a 25-minute stand-up fight, I favour Imavov because of how much better he is technically than Strickland, how much better he is defensively. In a kickboxing match, you've got to favour the superior kickboxer, which is Imavov. The only way this one gets dicey for him, in my opinion, is if Strickland chooses to grapple hard. On top of that, I am expecting Imavov's gas tank looking a lot better than usual. Since this is his first 5-round fight, you'd expect him to train harder, and on top of that, I do think, with this fight being at light heavyweight, it'll help Imavov because he won't deplete his body as much through not having to go through as bad of a weight cut. So I hope you found that breakdown useful. If you did, hit the like button below if you're watching this on YouTube, and come back tomorrow where I'll be dropping a new breakdown video on YouTube. If you're a member on my website, thank you very much for watching. Also, I'll be dropping a bunch more breakdown videos on the site very, very soon. But for now, have a great night. Take care, everybody. And I'll see you all in the next one. Nice one, guys. Bye.